Boom. All right, ladies and gentlemen. No office, no boss, just profits. If you want to learn the way of the backpack, then this episode is for you. Let's get this one started. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life. Prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Bros. Business Bros. He's cracked the code on living free while trading smart with strategies that simplify markets and a mindset that embraces the journey. He empowers everyday people to trade profitably from anywhere in the world. Please welcome the founder of Backpack Trader, Mr. Troy Noonan. All right, Troy, let's do this, man. Welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you. Love to be here.
All right, question number one. What prompted you to do this particular lifestyle, this income generation lifestyle? Give me a little background on how you got here today.
All right, here's the quick, Cliff Note version. Way back in the early 90s, I was working my behind off in a business. I was probably working, 21 hours a day, maybe sleeping three days a week. Received a brochure in the mail one day, and it showed trade patterns, and it's like my first introduction. And what happens after certain patterns is often predictable. And it got me kind of interested in learning how to trade. So I learned a few patterns. One day I actually took a trade. Now, this is before the internet. I used to get charts in the mail and have to fill in the closing prices every day, Monday through Friday, until the next set of paper charts came in the mail, right? The Wall Street Journal, and filling in these charts. So I ended up shorting the British pound and unwittingly hopped on board a trade that a famous billionaire actually broke the Bank of England with. It's an infamous trade, the trade that broke the Bank of England. It's where the British pound lost about 25% of its value in a very short amount of time, which is just massive if you could think about how large that is. So anyway, I took my several grand in profits and ended up backpacking through Europe for about 3.5 months. And that led me on this wild journey where I met my wife, who I'm now having my 30-year anniversary with, 2 kids who are in their 20s. And I was hooked. I got bit by the bug of freedom, basically. I'd never experienced that in my life. Trading gave that to me. And the back end story is that George Soros made billions on that trade, breaking the Bank of England. I made a wife and kids. Backpack Trader was born, basically, although I didn't realize
you made money, you built a life, and that's kind of that's the short end of it. No, but it bit you, right? The bug is there. You started to live a different lifestyle. That freedom that you were looking for, you achieved. And at some point, you're making a shift. You started going into, well, if I can do this and I'm enjoying this lifestyle, I'm going to start showing some other people. Where'd you get that core philosophy behind Backpack Trader? Like, how's it different from, let's say, what other trading education platforms offer?
Yeah. So, many years passed, obviously. I had a lot to learn, and I ended up trading through the .com boom and went on another backpacking trip through Europe in 1999, 2000-ish. I forget exactly, but it's where you could buy anything and make money, right? And I thought I was like ruling the markets, but little did I know, so was everyone else. Then the .com bust came. And while I didn't give back all the money I had made, I gave back more than I cared to think about. And so I started looking for answers, and I figured, okay, I got a lot to learn. And so the internet came about, and there was an early online trading education firm, and I bought one of their strategies because it introduced ideas that I had never thought of. Structure, trade plan, things that are like, well, that's a trade plan. In short, the trade plan is like the key to success. We can get into that in a bit, but to finish the story, one day, I was interacting with their members on a forum, and I really got their strategy. And one day they called me up out of the blue, and they invited me in as their first trade coach, which I'd never done before. And I thought, the trade coach, I started getting butterflies in my stomach and feeling a little nervous. But then I thought, if I'm to be a trade coach, I better be a damn good trader too. So as a motivation, just to get better as a trader, I decided to accept that position. And within 30 days, I started hosting a live trade room, calling live trades for them. There's like 186 people in the room on the very first day. I'd never done it before. And I did that for like 18 years. So,
damn, not too shabby. And how awesome is it to do? I mean, we kind of spoke about it very briefly right before the show started when we said, this is going to be a live episode. And you were like, you know what? I'm kind of used to that. I've been trading live like this on a platform. Tell me, not everybody does that. Not everybody's willing to, show their moves as they're doing them, but not necessarily because of the upsides. Everyone wants to celebrate the ups. It's the downside everybody's scared of. How did you settle into that, doing it live? How did that kind of grow on you?
Well, believe me, you've obviously spoke in front of people because you do a show, right? But do you remember the first time you had to go on stage or whatever and speak in front of a lot of people?
I was freaking terrified. Yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever had to sing a solo in front of someone?
No, I'm not.
Even more scary. I play drums. I wasn't given a good singing voice, so I'm behind the scenes, right? But anyway, imagine this: the first day, the curtains open. There's 186 people. I've never done it before, and then a trade sets up according to the rules of the strategy. And at that very moment, it just felt so awkward and so weird. Why? I didn't have the benefit of hindsight. When you look back at all these great chart patterns, you can see the trade that had already happened. You could always imagine yourself doing it. But when you place a trade, you're trading into the darkness, into the future that hasn't happened yet. And you're hoping something will happen, but then you lose control. You have no control over what's going to happen next, right? And that gives people a hard time because we have this primal need to survive, right? And so when you feel insecure and you feel like you're out of control of something, it becomes you think of it as a threat against your survival. That's why people don't make good traders. They always do the wrong things. They're trying to stop the pain and run away from that insecurity. And you have to learn how to be a trader, right? So imagine when that first trade happened, I have 186 people in the room hanging on my every word, and I'd never done it before. And I almost didn't call the trade because it just didn't feel right. And then 4 words popped into my head. I don't know where they came from. Call it divine intervention or whatever. It changed my life. And I've taught this to people over the years. One person said they want to tattoo it in reverse on their forehead so they could look in the mirror and see it every day before they start trading. That's how important this is. But my reason for it is different than what you would think. But the 4 words popped in my head at that very moment: lean on the system. And the reason why the way I interpreted it was, well, if I just lean on the system, then if the trade loses, it won't be my fault. I'm just being a professional calling the trade. But if I don't call the trade and it wins, I'm going to look like a total amateur. I'm going to be an idiot, basically, with egg on my face. So I have to call the trade. I just have to be a professional and lean on the system. So that was what all happened in an instant. At that moment, I called the trade. And it's funny because of my first day ever, we lost like 17 ticks in the Russell E-mini. That was the end result for the day at $100 a point per contract. I mean, yeah. So about $170 a contract. And the very next day, half the people were gone, like forever. I don't know what happened to them. Ran for the hills, never to be heard from again. I don't know.
They're like, well, those weren't the results I was looking for right off the bat. We're gonna take off to something else. But how do you end up doing after that?
Well, by the end of the year, and remember at that point I was just trading one market, one trade plan, and we were up 156 points. And on the 1-year anniversary, like literally exactly 1-year anniversary, we made 17 ticks. It's like,
nice.
Just the script any better. So after a few years of doing that, and then adding another chart and another trade plan and getting a little better at what I'm doing and this and that, I started developing my own strategies. Because when you're exposed to something long enough, every day you're in it, doing it, you start to see things. You can't teach time and experience. You just have to acquire it with time and experience, right? And so I came out with my first strategy over 15 years ago called the 7 Summits Trader, the SST. I still get emails from people that are using it to this day. Still works great. And I cracked the code on what it is to create a strategy, not that will stand the test of time and that can adjust to market conditions. I call it dancing with the market. But also, this is another skill I learned from the company I was with, that it's one thing to have a strategy that works, but it's another thing to have a strategy that can be taught and learn by others.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing that people don't think about. That's another skill. That's a different animal. And to combine that with a good strategy, that's what I learned basically. And so
let's hover there for a second, because I mean, you've had a couple times where things were new to you. Like the first time you had to switch over from paper trading, and now you're doing stuff online, and then you're becoming, you know, the teacher and the guru all of a sudden, going through your own ups and downs publicly. There are people who just want to get started trading. Now you're in the space where you're able to teach somebody. So if somebody's brand new, they've never done this before, what would it be like the very first step you'd recommend they take?
Call me. I love working with brand new traders who have never traded before. I love it. And the reason why is because you have the unique opportunity to learn it and get it right the first time. Instead of learn it the wrong way, get yanked into the school of hard knocks, which is going to cost you exponentially more. And you're going to end up coming back, but having to unlearn bad habits, which is hard for people to do. If you're brand new, you can learn it the right way the first time. So it's good to be brand new if you really want to do it. Then, to answer your question more directly, I guess the best way to say this is that if you go back to what I just said, creating a strategy is one thing, but creating a strategy that can be taught and learned by others, it's a whole nother thing. But a lot of people have strategies, they teach it, but like painting by numbers, anyone can learn that. Anyone can learn a technique. But painting by numbers doesn't make you an artist, right? Learning to play a piano scale doesn't make you a pianist. How do you make music out of it? So the way I talk about my program is learning a trading strategy, which is super important. It's only one leg on a three-legged stool, though, right? It's one of the legs. You have to learn how to be successful with the strategy. And that's what right. I got really good at. I developed a program to take people through that journey step by step through a variety of milestones. And we use this concept called earning the rites of passage. In other words, you stay on the step you're on until you've acquired it. We're all smart enough to shake our head yes and understand it intellectually. You have to acquire it on a deeper level. And so there's things I have you do, tangible, specific things where you actually transform yourself from a person trying to trade, what we all start out as, and that never ends well, elevating and transforming to what I call the CEO of your trading business. It's the best business in the world, after all. We could talk about why. But you have to go through this transformative journey step by step. And there's a very clear pathway and a framework to follow, a blueprint, if you will. You just do it step by step. You feel that transformation occur. Like you recalibrate your internals.
Let me give you a pushback that I'm sure you've gotten from customers all the time. It sounds like I got to learn a lot. It sounds like I got to put in so much time and effort. You talk about freedom and this flexibility and lifestyle, but do I have to like put in tons of hours of work to be able to get this freedom? Or am I switching out my 9 to 5 for like a 5 to 9? What's going on here?
No, we don't want another job, but you have to invest a little effort up front. So there's a couple good metaphors that really clear this up. First of all, let's say you want to buy a house. Let's say you want to build a house, raw piece of land. You want to build your dream house. Takes time and effort to build that house. Think through all the steps and all the things you have to do. Once it's built, how long does it take to walk through the door and live in the house and enjoy the house?
No time at all.
Exactly. So you win all your time back. So the backpack trader style, and back to your question on how I developed the brand, I ended up leaving that other company. I was with them for 15 years. I left them. I was able to keep all my strategies. I created some new ones. And basically, I had to rebrand myself. And I just figured, well, what about my story? It pretty much tells what the goal is, right? The backpack trader is a symbol of freedom that you get if you learn how to trade the markets correctly. But on the other side is we don't want another job. Like the thing I teach is the less you trade, the better off you are. So if you're a day trader, for example, in my opinion, you should have a trade plan that you trade for an hour a day or less. Sometimes I'm finished in a matter of minutes. In fact, I did a video. I was in Florence. There's a whole story behind that. I don't know if we have time to get into it, but it was the same trade plan being called in a trade room of mine and that I've been teaching for a long time with one of my newer strategies, crude oil futures. Forget the symbol, right? Doesn't matter. You push green to go up and red to go down, and that's all you need to know. But basically, I traded the plan. I had someone in the cafe standing behind me with a phone recording it. And I literally got into the trade. It blasted through all my targets. I was out of the trade faster than you could sneeze. So the whole thing took 2 minutes. But when it happened, when it triggered in, it was out like so fast, hit my goals. And we utilized this concept that I learned from the other company, but I've, made it a pivotal key thing of what I do. It's called the power of quitting. So it empowers you to quit trading for the day once you hit your goals. The goals are predefined as part of the trade plan. And so when you have something like that, you can go back and prove that the trade plan will make you money and then get really good at executing it. This is through the steps that I teach before you risk one penny. So not only
the guys in the military call strategies like these SOPs. They're standard operating procedures, things that you have to do in order to attain a specific goal. You follow the steps, you do it step by step, you follow the directions exactly how it's laid out for you. You can expect the same exact result every single time. Theoretically speaking, that's how it works. Sometimes, when it comes to an individual trade, may you be up, may you be down, yes, but over the long term, you execute the strategy, you tend to win. But there are still people that are going to be out there that are going to try to be like, okay, that sounds a good idea, and then still try to go out and do it themselves. What are some of the mistakes that you see them making on a regular basis, and how do you get them to come back to so that they're following this step-by-step plan successfully?
I mean, not everyone's coachable. Let's face it. Some people, they're trading for reasons they don't understand. Like you really should only trade to make money, right? But a lot of people think they're trading for that reason, but they're really trading for is to prove how smart they are. They're trying to self-validate or discover the reason for existing in the world. When you peel all the onion layers around, they're trading for the wrong reasons. And so the market's going to give you what you ask for, really. So you have to know what to ask for, and you have to do it consciously. So a lot of people are asking for things unconsciously, and it's true because of their actions. If the actions don't line up with the thing they know they're supposed to be doing, but they're doing other things instead, that tells you something. That tells you they don't even know why they're trading. They don't understand the part of themselves that they have to discover. And so that's that's part of the thing that happens naturally when you go through my process, because when the standard operating procedures, I mean, I use that term a lot. That's a good way to call a trade plan. The trade plan ultimately becomes your business. I mean, this is business bros, right? Let's face it. Sure. What business do you know that you can start with no effort that's going to be instantly profitable? Does that exist? I mean, is
not
it just,
really? No.
You're lucky you get struck by lightning, maybe, but ultimately all businesses take some effort. And what in life that's worthwhile doesn't take any effort? I mean, everything does, even a love relationship, everything takes effort, right? So why shouldn't this take effort too? It does take some effort, but the rewards are so vast. And if you get it right, another great metaphor is have you ever painted a room in a house? Most people have, right? Yeah. What's the hardest part of painting a room? What's the hardest part of the job?
Sometimes just picking the color.
Picking the color. Well, that's not picking what market you're going to trade, but that's an earlier step. But it's the prep, right?
Yeah. Taping everything up. Absolutely.
The better you prep, and then putting the paint up's easy, right? But the better you prep, the better you're going to be. The better the result will be. I call it pre-production. So you invest some time up front following the plan. You acquire what you need to transform yourself, and that happens by just osmosis, step by step. It just happens if you go through this process, and you get to that step in the framework where you've earned the rights of passage to start trading live. And now you're trading something that you've acquired belief in because you've proven it will make you money, and you've practiced it enough so you know how to execute it perfectly. So just playing that piano scale, that's the technique you learn, but you're learning how to be successful with that technique. And that's the thing that most people, just for whatever reason, they seem to miss that critical part.
Yeah, and as you're going through the system, you start to build that confidence, and you get to the point where you can be on a live and make a gutsy call because you're relying on the system, right? You're leaning on the system. All of a sudden, it makes sense for you to do that. I know you've dealt with people who probably don't lean on the system as much as they should. They got that voice in the back of their head kind of like, ooh, I don't know, you should get out. The more you learn, sometimes you become a victim of your own, demons trying to get you to sway in any fearful direction. Your system, however, emphasizes that simplicity. How do you balance that kind of ease of effectiveness and the emotions that these people are going to feel as they enter some volatile markets?
Well, volatility is good because it makes for great trading. There's a couple theories that I teach people off the top. So we develop an overarching philosophical point of view to start with, and that really helps. And I could tell you what a couple of those things are. There's a thing I teach, and it's not even my idea. I learned it from someone else, but it's the idea that the immediate past can predict the immediate future with a high degree of accuracy. And the reason why is because of the second thing is the price action can't hide. It is what it is. It's out in the open. Everyone can see it. It is what it is. And so the market's made up of human beings, right? You have buyers, you have sellers, and you have those that are on the side, like coming in, and those exiting. Like those are your groups of people in the market. And because human nature basically doesn't change, it tends to create these repetitive patterns, these price patterns that are repetitive. They happen over and over and over and over and over. So much so that we can predict what's likely to happen next. So you learn to isolate a specific pattern, right? And so I've developed these tools and strategies that will find us a pattern that I've developed, that I've learned is you can predict what's going to happen next. And the indicator will literally print the trade on the chart. You'll see the entry, the targets, your stop loss. The whole trade is defined from start to finish, and the amount you're risking, all of it in a smart way. You never want to risk the farm. You want to, a lot of small baby steps get you a great distance, because then we employ power of compounding. So that's another thing that's a bit major key. That's one of the second legs of that trading stool. But the point is that because the pattern happens so often, that's the immediate past created that pattern. It shows up, you see the trade. We know what's likely to happen next with a high degree of accuracy. Does it mean 100% accuracy? No, that's impossible. But we don't need that. One of the things I teach is don't make the perfect be the enemy of the good enough, because the good enough can make you a ton of money. So let's just focus on hitting certain numbers and creating a trade plan that we've proven, because we have all these a big enough sample set. We know what the odds are. The statistics have stabilized because the sample set's so large, and it's likely that 70 plus 80%, whatever the percentage is of the time, that this next thing's going to happen. And you can build a trade plan around that. So you learn how to live with the random distribution of wins and losses, because you're winning a lot more when you win, and you're losing a lot less when you lose.
See, you should have paid a lot more attention in that high school statistics class, because all of a sudden the standard deviation makes a lot more sense when you're looking at trading.
Good point.
So, I mean, coaching, live trading that you can watch, step-by-step simplicity. This thing's got to cost a fortune, right?
I mean, it's relative. What's a cost anyway? A cost is if you buy a chicken and you eat it, it's delicious. Yum, I had a nice dinner, and now the chicken's gone. What if instead you bought a goose that lays golden eggs? Do you want to eat that goose, or do you want to just take care of it so it keeps popping out golden eggs?
I'll take the golden eggs all day.
Is that a cost? It's not a cost, is it? It's an investment. People don't know the difference. That's the weird thing about people today. They equate investments with cost. That's not right. That's how poor people think. If you want to be rich, you got to think what rich people think, how rich people think. Do what they do. If you want to be a CEO of your trading business, do what a CEO would do. They know the difference between an investment and a cost. So some people don't. Some people have a hard time with it. But imagine if you get your trading to the point where, there's a formula we teach. It's one of the workshops that we go through. It's called a Capital Growth Workshop. If you can make $50 a day, an average net profit, after all wins and losses, it averages out to $50 a day per contract, right? You can levy that into a $10,000 a month income within 24 months. If you're starting, it's a formula, right? So sometimes you make more, sometimes you make less. It depends on what you start with. There's a whole thing we teach with a pre-programmed spreadsheet. But the basic thing is it's that exponential curve. And so you go so far, you're growing your account. As you win, you're increasing your position size. And eventually the rate of growth is faster, faster, faster. And like a jet airplane turns into a rocket ship, So how much is that worth learning that? Is that a cost? Is that an
Absolutely
investment?
not. That is an investment.
Not only do you make $10,000 a month by the end of the 24 months, but you've also grown your trading account to like $250,000 in value. So there's like the power of the snowball rolling down the hill is very powerful. Einstein calls it the eighth wonder of the world for a reason, right?
So
Power of compounding. So
So Troy, if I want to find out more about this training program, if I want to find out more about being a part of your program, because in 24 months, it'd be nice to have that $10,000 a month income coming in, or at least working towards it. How can I find out more?
Yeah, good. So here's an investment one can make. There's a boot camp that I'm offering. It's called the Quick Start Trading Boot Camp, and it's typically $1,000. But for your guests today, I'm offering it at a 90% discount for $97. And if anyone's interested, we're doing the next one will be early in July. There's a phone number. They could text CEO 10, CEO and the number 10 to that number, or they can do it on my Instagram, or they can go to backpacktrader.com/podcast. Anyone is. They could also email me, Troy@backpacktrader.com. So I answer all emails.
Troy,
yeah.
I mean, that's an amazing discount. 90% off, $997. Everything that you've been talking about that a student can learn from. There's so many different ways that students like to learn. Sometimes they just want to go to the website and just learn straight from material at their own pace. Sometimes they want to have live Q&A type action. Sometimes they just need point me in the right direction, give me a pointer here and there, and let me keep going. You're offering almost all of that in one complete package for $97, dude. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I also give them some additional goodies. Like I actually have one of my top strategies that a lot of people love. It's called Catapult Trader. The trades feel like they've been flung from a catapult, right? And so I have a special limited edition version that I make available to the bootcamp members. So for $97, you're not only getting this 4-hour or 5-hour masterclass, but you're also getting that strategy, which works on TradeStation, NinjaTrader, and Thinkorswim. I don't know if it works on Thinkorswim, but it definitely works on TradeStation and NinjaTrader. I don't remember anymore, but it's great. And then TradeStation, which is a platform I use, they love my members. They know that my members tend to do better than their general membership base, so they offer a special a perk that anything you get from my company, Backpack Trader, they pay you back with 20% commission rebate. So while you're making commissionable trades, they're going to take 20% of all the commissions you paid that month and deposit it right back into your account, up to the full price of anything you've invested in any of my courses or strategies. So you let TradeStation underwrite it for you. It's like a no-brainer.
Heck yeah, it totally makes sense. I got one more question for you as we head out here. There's the future of trading and retail. Where do you see it going, especially with things like AIs and automations and apps coming along? You've been through it all, literally from pen and paper to where we are today. Where do you see the future of retail trading going?
Well, for me, it's just I like to keep things simple. I stay with my philosophical belief that you got a price pattern that repeats and you could identify it and you know it's going to likely to happen next. So why worry about the rest? I mean, can AI trade better than us? A person? Maybe. I have no idea. I don't know how to use AI. I use automation, but I use it more for research than I do. I don't have robots trade for me. There's a 5% art to trading, in my opinion. So like everything I teach in our trade plans is like 98% mechanical, and I take that 5% art to trading, and I could reduce that down to rules also. So maybe there's a 1 or 2% art. And so AI, I don't think could ever think for itself, but maybe I'm wrong. So I don't really know. I don't know the answer other than I know it works. So why do anything else?
Yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Look, at the end of the day, it's your portfolio, it's your cash flow. How you get it to operate, that's going to be completely on you. I mean, learning the system that you only spend a couple hours a day doing and it's exponentially growing, it can be even minutes to get it all done. It's definitely a process that people should look into. So just if you're watching this, it's on the screen. If you're listening, text CEO10 to 775-204-7717. Figure out a way to get yourself started, at least move in the right direction. Talk to somebody who's already done it. Troy has been doing it for years. Not only has he done it successfully, but he's shown other people to be able to do it successfully as well. Go ahead and look into him. His website, backpacktrader.com. Go to backpacktrader.com/podcast and let him know what's up, dude. Figure out if the system's going to work for you. Troy, thank you very much for being on the program today. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. And we're out.
It's over. Go home.
Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast, but not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.biz to get started today.